in such a mighty thrust that she screamed, climaxing with him. She clamped around him, pulsing and milking, and he bucked, frenzied, reduced to this need to be in her, to spill as much of himself as he could. Nesta rode him until he had stopped spurting, until her pleasure had her draped over his chest and arms still outstretched toward his wing. Please, not the milking. Is she a cow? She's gonna get milked dry while he's spurting like a fucking sprinkler. They clung to each other, and he tried to piece himself back together to remember what the fuck his name was and where they were. Bro, that vajayjay was so damn good, he can't even remember his name, dude. His name. And of course, because this book is 800 pages long, we had to read about the same exact thing from the other character's point of view, but also add a bunch of seeds into it. Just sprinkling a bunch of seeds, kind of like sesame seeds to garnish your plate. Nesta couldn't move, wrapped around Cassian where he knelt in the center of the bed, his hands still digging into her ass to hold her in place, his cock buried deeply inside her. She didn't want to move. She told herself she shouldn't enjoy it so much, seeing him undone, feeling his seed inside her, leaking out of her. Girl, you have been leaking seeds for the past few hundreds of pages. Can you imagine being Nesta's gynecologist, taking a peek at what's going on in there? At this point, she should not be doing a yearly checkup, but like a daily checkup. This shit ain't normal. She knelt before him, nearly knee to knee. I still need more. Cassian's head lifted, eyes flashing. I know. More? Bitch, you just had your brains fucked out. We spent the past several pages watching you bang, and now you want to go for like round 5,000? They stared at each other for a long minute, for eternity, and then, to her shock and delight, Cassian hardened before her eyes. Do you see what you do to me? He asked. Do you see what happens every time I look at you all fucking day? Bitch, y'all have some medical issues, for real. I think this is becoming an addiction problem. Your penis cannot be erect literally 24/7. This guy here is a walking advertisement for Viagra. He literally has an erection every time he looks at her. How painful is that? He's gonna have to play peekaboo every time she's in the room, otherwise he's gonna have a medical issue. And sure enough, by the end of this chapter, they do it again. He leaned to whisper in her ear and said, hold on tight. Not him telling her to hold on tight like his dick is a roller coaster. God damn. In the next chapter, he goes into Rhysand's office where all the other fairies are. This morning, he woke hard and aching and realized that the scent of her was all over him. He knew his friends smelled it. Neither Rhys nor Ace had commented, but Amren's eyes had narrowed, yet she said nothing. Please take a fucking shower, dude. You cannot be walking into your friend's office in a fucking business meeting and all your friends can smell the coochie off of you. That is disgusting. It's fine if you have an active sex life. You two clearly have the same high libidos. Good for you. That can be healthy. But you need to be soaking in a bath for like 24 hours before you interact with anybody. Because I know that penis smells dank as fuck. Speaking of stinky penises, later on we finally get to see Tamlin. For some reason his presence is supposed to be super ominous. Nesta felt it a heartbeat later. The presence creeping toward them on soft paws. Cassian shoved her behind him just as a golden-furred beast with curling horns leaped from behind the brambles, landing in the forest clearing. She'd never forget that beast. Tamlin. Dude. Tamlin had paws and golden fur? Did I just totally block that out of my mind? Tamlin is actually a furry? I'm pretty sure I joked about it in the first video that I made about the first book, but I didn't think it was actually true. Fortunately, he has a very short entrance, thank God. Later on, we move forward with the rest of the story. Nesta finds out that all the other fairies like Rhysand and Amren and Cassian found out that she is harnessing powers that could be really dangerous, and they decided to have a vote on whether they should tell her, because for some reason these fairies seem to love doing this thing where they like to withhold information about that person from the person themselves, like Feyre, who's gonna die from giving birth, and Nesta from her own power. Fortunately, there were enough votes for them to tell her about the powers, but she found out about the whole voting thing and she gets so pissed off about it, which I completely understand, because why would you withhold information from her when it's about her? That doesn't sound like it's her choice. And this other character, Amren, tries to justify why there was this whole voting thing in the first place and about how she's not ready. And she says, you can train as hard as you want, fuck Cassian as often as you want, but it isn't going to fix what's broken if you don't start reflecting. Training hard and fucking Cassian hard? Yeah, isn't that what we've been doing for the past 500 pages? She wants us to do more than that? Then what the fuck was this all for? And because she gets so pissed off that they decide to withhold that info from her, she ends up spilling the beans about Feyre and her pregnancy. Nesta is arguing with Amren, who's trying to justify about the whole voting thing, but then Feyre comes in to defend Amren. Amren is my friend and has been a member of this court for centuries. I offer her respect. Is it respect that she offers you? Nesta spat. Is it respect that your mate offers you? Ooh, she is about to drop the fucking ball right here. Feyre went still. Amren warned, don't you say one more fucking word, Nesta Archeron. Feyre asked, what do you mean? And Nesta didn't care, couldn't think around the roaring. Have any of them told you, their respected high lady, that the babe in your womb will kill you? Amren barked, shut your mouth! But her order was confirmation enough. Face paling, Feyre whispered again, what do you mean? The wings, Nesta seethed. The boy's Illyrian wings will get stuck in your fade body during the labor, and it will kill you both. Silence rippled through the room, the world. Feyre breathed, Masha just said the labor would be risky, but the bone carver, ... the son he showed me didn't have wings. Did he only show me what I wanted to see? I don't know, Nesta said, but I do know that your mate ordered everyone not to inform you of the truth. She turned to Amren. Did you all vote on that too? Did you talk about her, judge her, and deem her unworthy of the truth? What was your vote, Amren? To let Feyre die in ignorance? Before Amren could reply, Nesta turned back to her sister. Didn't you question why your precious, perfect Rhysand has been a moody bastard for weeks? Because he knows you will die. He knows, and yet he still didn't tell you. Bitch, let's fucking go. Let's fucking drop some truth bombs right there. If Feyre thinks that it's okay to vote about whether Nesta should know about these things or not, maybe Feyre should wake up with some truth of her own. Spill the beans, bitch. She pulled up with the receipts. She was like, oh, really? This you? So now Feyre is crying because everyone knew but her, and the love of her life didn't even tell her about this. But then when she starts crying, Nesta realizes that she messed up. It broke something in Nesta, broke that rage, that roaring, seeing those tears begin to fall, the fear crumpling Feyre's paint-smeared face. She had gone too far. She ... oh gods. And then Cassian tells Rhysand about Nesta spilling the beans, and Rhysand says, get Nesta out of the city right now before I fucking kill her. So this becomes a huge deal that Nesta took this way too far. She spends the next few chapters beating herself up and telling herself that she crossed the line and that she's a horrible person. And I'm like, is she though? Did she really cross a line when she told her sister the truth about the medical complications that are related to her own pregnancy? That was the thing that crossed the line for everyone. So Cassian goes over to find her while Nesta's beating herself up. And this is where Nesta opens up about herself more and the pain and the trauma that she's been through. So she explains here, when she hears the sound of crackling fire over logs, it's actually a big trigger for her because it reminds her of when her father died. That's what I hear. I don't know, however, not hear his neck snapping when I'm near a fire. It's ... It's torture. I should have found a way to save us before then. Save Elaine and Feyre when we were poor. But I was so angry and I wanted him to try to fight for us, but he didn't. And I would have let us all starve to prove what a wrench he was. It consumed me so much that I let Feyre go into that forest and told myself I didn't care. Blah, 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 blah. So there's this whole monologue that she's doing. I actually like it. I'm not making fun of this part. Because she's talking about like why she hates herself so much and all this pain that she's kept hidden, which explains why she's such a bitch. It explains why she lashes out so much to the other characters, because she's a bitch that's in pain. And Cassian consoles her at this part, which I think is very sweet. But I do want to point out that when he consoles her, this is what happens. She tells him, that is all I hear, the snapping of his neck, his last words to me, that he loved me. I didn't deserve that love. I deserved nothing. Cassian's hands tightened on her. He said after a moment, I can tell you more about my mother and how her death nearly destroyed me. I can tell you in detail about what I did afterward and what that cost me. I can tell you about the decade it took me to work through it. I can tell you how many days and nights I suffered during the 49 years Amarantha held Reese captive, the guilt tearing me apart that I wasn't there to help him, that I couldn't save him. I can tell you how I still look at him and know I'm not worthy of him, that I failed him when he needed me. That fact drags me from sleep sometimes. I can tell you I've killed so many people I've lost count, but I remember most of their faces. I can tell you how I hear Eris and Devlin and the others talk, and deep down I still believe that I am a worthless bastard brute, that it doesn't matter how many siphons I have or how many battles I've won, because I failed the two people dearest to me when it mattered the most. But I'm not going to tell you all that. Bitch, you just did! Imagine the love of your life crying and telling you about this trauma that has really affected her. And then you're like, oh man, I need to console her. You know what? I'm not gonna talk about me. I'm not gonna go on a whole monologue and make this about me. Except I just did. Bitch, we weren't talking about you. We were talking about Nesta. This isn't your turn. The spotlight is not on you right now. Fortunately, after that monologue, he does turn it back around to Nesta, and he says some comforting words that I actually think was a pretty good response. He says, I am going to tell you that you will get through it, that you will face all of this and you will get through it, that these tears are good, Nesta. These tears mean you care. I am going to tell you that it is not too late, not for any of it. And I can't tell you when or how, but it will get better. What you feel, this guilt and pain and self-loathing, you will get through it. And then he goes on. And a monologue, I feel like, is a good response to say to someone who is suffering. I mean, is it repetitive? Yes. You don't need to say, I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna tell you that, I'm gonna tell you this, because clearly you're already telling her that. You don't need to repeat the same sentences over and over. But hey, you know, she's struggling. Maybe you really need to hammer it down onto her. And then he concludes it by saying, don't say you don't deserve it. Everyone deserves happiness. Everyone deserves happiness? Does that mean even Tamlin deserves happiness? You know, the guy that's suffering through PTSD, but everyone decided to make him a clown for the rest of the series? Nah, he doesn't deserve shit. At this point, I don't even want Tamlin to have a redemption arc because that means I would have to see more of him. So basically, they're comforting each other. This is a nice moment that they're sharing. Later on, they're training with the priestesses, who I must remind you every time I talk about them, they have been abused before. They're using their training as a way to reclaim their power and strength. One of these priestesses has a ribbon. Done, Gwyn declared, the white ribbon fluttering in the wind where it hung from the beam. Cassian, however, approached Gwyn's handiwork and ran the white silk between two fingers. Nesta couldn't stop her blush. He'd done that by the lake. After he'd fucked her with his fingers, he'd held her gaze while he rubbed them together, testing the slide of her wetness against his skin the same way he was touching that ribbon. From the way his hazel eyes darkened, she knew he was recalling the same. Bitch, get your nasty fingers off that ribbon. This poor innocent priestess is using her ribbon during her training, trying to work on herself, trying to better her life, and here you are comparing this ribbon to you fingering Nesta? You nasty bitches. So obviously they got a bang right after they train. Once they go inside, they can't even make it past the desk because already he pushes her down onto the desk and then takes off her pants, and then he's just ready to go to Pound Town. He pounded into her at a steady, deep pace. The liquid slide of his cock into her sounded obscenely through his... Sorry, I had to swallow down whatever was coming up my throat. Anyway, the liquid slide of his cock into her sounded obscenely through his otherwise silent bedroom. His balls brushed against her, tickling her with each powerful thrust. Harder! She wanted him imprinted on her very bones. Harder! Exquisite, punishing thrust slammed so deep he hit her innermost wall, and her eyes rolled back into her head at the sheer bliss of it. There is so much to unpack in this sentence. First of all, exquisite, punishing thrusts. Let's just sit with that choice of vocabulary for a moment. Second of all, he hit her innermost wall. At this point, his dick is literally gonna go from one hole and out the other hole. She might have been sobbing at the pleasure, the sheer size of him, so large there would never be any getting used to it. Every unrelenting push had her inching against the desk, the wood and papers teasing her breast, and she nearly wept at that too. Yeah, I would also be weeping if my boobies were getting paper cuts all over the desk. That just sounds painful. That's it, Nesta. He accentuated each word with a savage thrust. Do I feel good to you? She whimpered her confirmation, then managed to say, I like it when you ride me hard. Every time I move and my body is sore, ... I think of you, of your cock. Good. I want my cock to be the only thing you think about, because your pretty little cunt is the only thing I think about. At the words, his foul language, her toes curled. But she wouldn't let him win this one. So she whispered, I love being so covered in your seed that it leaks out of me for ages afterward. I love feeling it slide down my thighs and knowing you left your mark in me. Fuck, he blew out, his pounding wild now. So unchecked, only her hold on the desk kept her feet on the ground. Fuck! Cassian came with a roar, and at the first pulse of his cock spurting deep into her, she climaxed, screaming loud enough that he clamped a hand over her mouth. She bit down on his fingers, and he kept moving in her, spilling himself over and over, until his seed was again running down her thighs, until he slid his fingers through a stream of it and brought it up to that spot at the apex of her sex. You have no idea what you just started, he whispered in her ear. Yep, we're going right back to the seed talk. That's how you get him. She was trying to make him come first, and that's how you get your man, ladies. All you gotta do is just plant the seed. That's what drives a man crazy. You have no idea what you just started, he whispered in her ear, smearing his wetness there. Ew, he smeared his wetness into her ear? This man literally just gave her a wet willy. That's nasty. Nesta didn't reply as his fingers flicked against her, and she came again. Bro. She came twice in a row. Now, despite them constantly having sex, for some reason, Nesta is still feeling insecure about their relationship because he doesn't cuddle with her after sex. She told herself it didn't matter that he never stayed in her bed afterward to hold her. She wondered when he'd grow tired of it, of her. Surely he'd get bored and move on, even if he feasted on her each night as if he were starving, gripped her thighs in his powerful hands and licked and suckled at her until she writhed. Sometimes she straddled his face, hands clenching the headboard, and rode his tongue until she came on it. Sometimes it was her tongue on him, around him, and she swallowed down every drop he spilled into her mouth. Sometimes he spilled on her chest, her stomach, her back, and she came at the first splash of him on her skin. Wait a minute, let's talk about that last sentence. Sometimes he spilled on her chest, her stomach, her back. Why does that sound familiar?
My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack.
Also, I like how in this chapter, when she's feeling insecure that he might get bored of her someday, she's still able to get her thought process to go back to being horny for him. This is literally her internal monologue the entire book. Anytime something happens, anytime she observes something, she's always thinking, how can I relate to this to me getting digged down? But Cassian isn't the only dude who might possibly be digging her down, because later on, Cassian and Nesta are on his mission to fight off this dude named Lanthus. Lanthus is this wind demon thing who was originally trapped and put into a prison by Cassian, but he has broken free, and she has to use his magic sword to kill him. But before he does, Lanthus, who again is a wind demon, shows her this vision of them fucking as a way to convince her to kill Cassian and become queen with him instead. The vision shifted, and they writhed on a great black bed, the golden skin of Lanthus's back shining as he moved inside her. Such pleasure. She had never known such pleasure with anyone. Only he could fuck her like this, driving so deep, her body warm and supple and wet for him. And soon his seed would take root in her womb, and the child she would bear with him would rule entire universes. Bitch, that escalated quickly. Imagine bringing your sword back as you're about to slay a demon, and then he just shoots you a horny visualization, and you're like, bro, what the fuck? What the hell was that vision? Am I a monster fucker now? On one hand, I find this to be weirdly random, but on the other hand, I find it to be a compelling argument since he clearly knows how horny Nesta is. Like, if you're gonna convince her to backstab anyone, giving her that good D probably will be your best shot. But Nesta is strong enough to resist her horny urges, and she's able to resist him and kill him, thereby proving Cassian's dick is the best dick of all.